morning students. As you all know, we are going through a pandemic situation where coronavirus is spreading across the globe. This is the reason we are unable to carry out the normal classroom classes. Hence, we are taking a small initiative in bringing the classroom to your doorstep. Okay, so I hope this session is helpful to you all. Please concentrate and listen to the classes. Okay, today I will be dealing with the topic from your Unit 6, which is reproduction, and Chapter 2, sexual reproduction in flowering plants, under this unit, reproduction. Okay, as we have already discussed in our classes, flower is a very fascinating organ of a plant which is helpful in carrying out sexual reproduction in a plant. Okay, in flower we will find 4 important whorls. Okay, one is calyx, second one is corolla, third one is androecium, fourth whorl of flower is called as gynoecium. Calyx is the outermost whorl of a flower. Okay, the unit of calyx are sepals. Okay, corolla is the whorl which will be found inner to the calyx, which we generally call it as petals of a flower. Androecium, as you all know, they are the male reproductive structure of a flower, and gynoecium is a female reproductive structure of a flower. Okay. Now we have to discuss in detail. Today's class we will discuss in detail what is the structure of androecium, okay, in a bisexual flower. In the next session we will be dealing with this topic called as gynoecium. Already mentioned, they are the male reproductive structure of a flower. Okay. Now unit of androecium are known as stamens in a flower. The units of androecium are stamens. We all know the general structure of a stamen. Stamen in a typical picture looks like this. Stamen has 2 parts. This is the structure of a stamen. Stamen has 2 parts, this upper part and this lower part. This upper part, which is bilobed. You can see 2 oval shaped structure here. They are represented as lobes. This is lobe 1 and lobe 2. Okay, so anther, which is bilobed, it has 2 lobes in it, and there is a very long and slender stalk which is called as filament. Okay, so a stamen, which is the unit of androecium, has 2 parts in it. The uppermost part is called as anther, which is generally bilobed. That means it has 2 lobes in it, and there is a long slender stalk called as filament. Why is this anther so important in a stamen or in a androecium? Anther is a part of a flower inside which pollen grains are produced. Okay, so inside anthers pollen grains are produced, which is very important in carrying out the process called as pollination. Okay, now in order to study how pollen grains are produced inside the anther, we need to know the structure of anther. In order to know the structure of anther, we are taking a TS or the transverse section of anther. That means we take a thin section of this anther and we study it in in an elaborated manner. Okay, so I am taking a thin section of anther and I am drawing it in detail. Transverse section. So I am going to take a transverse section of a bilobed anther and I will draw here in detail. In an outline, it looks like this. Okay, so if you can see the picture in an outline, you can make out that it has 4 corners to it. Okay, they have 4 corners. Okay, such type of anther is called as tetragonal anther, that it has 4 corners to it. Okay, this is the structure of anther in an outline. Now, here, this part of the anther represent lobe 1, which is this. This part of the anther represent lobe 2, which is this part of the anther. Okay, now you can see the anther is tetragonal in shape, that it has 4 corners. Okay, in all the 4 corners, this anther has a circular structure which is known as microsporangium. Okay, in all the 4 corners of anther, you will find a circular shaped structure which is known as microsporangium. Okay, now microsporangium is the structure inside which pollen grains or microspores are produced. Okay, the name itself indicates microsporangium. That means it's a structure inside which microspores are produced. Microspores in turn gives rise to pollen grains. So this structure, these structures can also be called as pollen sacs. That is, it's a sac in which pollen grains are produced. Okay. Now, inside each microsporangium, here I will in detail explain only one microsporangium structure. Okay. The same explanation applies to all the other 3 corners. Okay. I'll take this microsporangium and I'll explain in detail what is the structure of this microsporangium and what is the outline, what is present in the outline. Okay. Now, inside this microsporangium, inside every microsporangium, in fact, you will find a specialized type of tissue . So inside this microsporangium, you will find a specialized type of tissue which is known as sporogenous tissue. Name itself indicates sporogenous tissue means spore generating tissue. That means it is a tissue which is going to generate some kind of spores. What spores? They will be producing microspores, which in turn will produce pollen grains in the future. Okay, so now this is the inside structure of the microsporangium. Inside the microsporangium, you will find a tissue called as sporogenous tissue. Every microsporangium, in turn, are protected by 4 wall layers. Okay, they are protected by 4 wall layers. Which are they? I will draw it in detail. Okay, again I am telling you, I am elaborating, okay, or I am explaining the structure of one corner in detail, okay, whereas the same explanation applies to all the other 3 corners. The outermost structure or wall, I said every microsporangium is covered by 4 wall layers. The outermost wall layer this wall layer is known as epidermis. Okay, microsporangium has an outermost wall layer. This is the outermost wall layer of the anther. Okay, this layer is called as epidermis. Inner to this epidermis, you will find one more wall layer. Okay, this layer is a second layer. It's called as endothecium. Okay, C-I-U-M, endothecium. Okay, this is the second layer which is present surrounding to the microsporangium. Next, we have one more layer called as middle layers. Here I have mentioned epidermis. I have drawn epidermis. You can see clearly epidermis is of single layer thickness. It is a single layer. Endothecium, again, it's a single layer. However, the next layer I mentioned will be middle layer, but they are not of a single layer thickness. It will have 2 to 3 layers in it. To 3 layer thickness. Okay. This layer is known as middle layers. Okay, so the outermost layer is epidermis. The next layer is endothecium. The third layer is middle layers, which is 2 to 3 layer thick. And the last layer and the innermost layer, which is in very much close association with the microsporangium, is the layer called as tapetum. This is the innermost layer. I'll write it here. It is known as tapetum. Okay, so every microsporangium is surrounded by 4 wall layers. First one is epidermis, second one is endothecium, third one is middle layers, and the fourth layer is tapetum. Okay, now let us see the function of these 4 layers. Here you see epidermis, endothecium and middle layers. Their function is mainly protection, and also they help in the dehiscence of anther. What is dehiscence? Dehiscence is a process in which when the anther is matured enough, they break open so that the pollen grains which are present inside the microsporangium can come out of the anther so that it can go and sit on the stigma. Okay, when the process where the anther breaks open, releasing the pollen grains, is called as dehiscence of anther. Okay, the function of dehiscence and protection is carried out by these 3 layers called as epidermis, endothecium and middle layers. Here I will write their function is protection and dehiscence of anther, that is breaking of anther to release the pollen grains. Okay, generally you should be aware that the pollen grains are released when the anthers break open, and the anthers break open at this part of the anther, okay, which is generally referred as a longitudinal groove. When the anther matures, okay, these layers become very fibrous, and at this longitudinal groove the anther opens and the pollen grains come out of this anther. Okay, apart from this structure, here in this part of the anther we will find another group of tissue, okay, which is known as connective. Okay, here in the center we will find another group of tissue called as connective. Okay, they are nothing but sterile tissue which do not take part in spore formation. Okay, they are nowhere involved in the formation of pollen grains. They are kind of special tissue. The function is to keep the two lobes in close association. Okay, the function of connective is just to connect these two lobes. Okay, they do not take part in any kind of spore formation. This tissue is called as connective. Okay, let me brief you again about the structure of anther. Anther is the uppermost part of a stamen inside which pollen grains are produced. Okay, if you take a transverse section of anther, you will get a tetragonal shaped structure. Tetragonal means it has 4 corners to it. Okay, now in all the 4 corners there is a circular shaped structure like this known as microsporangium. Inside microsporangium you will find a specialized type of tissue called as sporogenous tissue. They are the tissue which will be giving rise to microspores or pollen grains in the future. Every microsporangium at every 4 corners of the anther are surrounded by 4 wall layers, 4 layers. Okay, generally these 4 layers together can be called as anther wall. All these 4 layers together they can be called as anther wall because they are protecting the anther. The outermost wall layer is called as epidermis, the next layer called as endothecium, and the next few layers are called as middle layers, and the innermost layer is called as tapetum. I have already told you the function of epidermis, endothecium, middle layers is nothing but protection, and also they will help in the dehiscence of anther. Then what is the function of this layer, innermost layer called as tapetum? Okay, tapetum, the function of tapetum is to give nourishment. Okay, tapetum here, this layer, it has dense cytoplasm in it and they are multinucleated. That means they have more than one nucleus in their cytoplasm. Okay. Now, who do they nourish? They give nourishment to this sporogenous tissue at the time of microspore formation. Okay, this layer called as tapetum, they have dense cytoplasm and they are also multinucleated. They help this sporogenous tissue when they are developing into pollen grains. They give nourishment to the sporogenous tissue or the developing microspores. This is the structure of anther in detail. Now, next topic we will be studying, I have already mentioned sporogenous tissue, they develop into microspores which in turn develop into pollen grains. Let's study another simple topic called as microsporogenesis. Okay. Now, with the same picture, I am erasing these labelings. With the same picture, I can explain you the process called as microsporogenesis. which is going to be our next topic. Microsporogenesis. Microsporogenesis is a process in which microspore mother cell gives rise to a microspore. Okay? It is a process in which microspore mother cells gives rise to microspores. Okay? When a microspore mother cell gives rise to microspores, this process is known as microsporogenesis. What is a microspore mother cell? Where do we find microspore mother cell? Now, here inside the microsporangium, you will find a group of tissue. Now, we will find group of cells, okay, which is known as sporogenous tissue. These are individual cells which are present inside the microsporangium. All these cells together, they constitute sporogenous tissue. Now, you see here, every cell, each and every cell in the sporogenous tissue is a microspore mother cell. Okay? Each and every cell which is found, which is present inside this microsporangium, okay, each and every cell, they are together called as sporogenous tissue. However, each and every cell is known as microspore mother cell. Why they are known as microspore mother cells? Because in the future they will be producing microspores. That is the reason we call each and every cell of the sporogenous tissue a microspore mother cell. Okay. Now we know what is a microspore mother cell. Now we must be knowing how a microspore mother cell produces microspores. Okay. Let me clarify here itself. Every microspore mother cell which is present inside the microsporangium, they are diploid. Okay, they are diploid cells. Okay. Now, how they will produce microspores? Now, what I will do here is, I will take a single cell from this sporogenous tissue. Okay. Okay. This can be represented as a microspore mother cell. This is a microspore mother cell taken from this sporogenous tissue. Now, this is a microspore mother cell. This can also be called as MMC. Okay, it can be in an abbreviated form, it can be called as MMC. Now, what happens is, this microspore mother cell undergoes a division, a reduction division called as meiosis. Okay, you all are aware that meiosis is a reduction division where the number of chromosomes becomes half in the reduction division. Now, every microspore mother cell is a diploid cell, okay, which undergoes meiosis, which is a reductional division. After undergoing meiosis, microspore mother cell, we all are aware that one meiotic division gives rise to 4 cells. Now, microspore mother cell, after undergoing a meiotic division, produces 4 cells which are not separated, they are in close association with each other. Microspore mother cell, they undergo meiosis and they produce 4 cells. All the 4 cells, they remain close with each other. This structure is known as microspore tetrad. Okay, when all the 4 microspores are together, they are not separated from each other. This structure is known as microspore tetrad. One microspore mother cell has undergone a meiotic division producing 4 microspores. Since all the 4 microspores are together, this structure can be called as microspore tetrad. Okay, here you can see microspore mother cell has produced microspores. This process is known as microsporogenesis. Now, microspore tetrad will not continue in the same structure. Now, when the anther matures, all the microspores from this microspore tetrad, they go separate from each other and they develop into individual microspores. Okay, microspore mother cell undergoes meiosis and they will produce the 4 microspores which are together. This structure is known as microspore tetrad, whereas the microspore tetrads, when the anther matures, they go away from each other and they develop into individual microspores. This process is known as microsporogenesis. In this process, there is a generation of microspores. Microspores are produced from microspore mother cell. Okay, this microspore will develop into pollen grains in the future. Okay, the microspore itself will develop into pollen grains. Okay, how we will study in detail. Now, here in this diagram itself, I will mention. Okay, every cell acts as a microspore mother cell. Okay, I am representing this sporogenous tissue, individual MMC here. They undergo meiosis and produce 4 microspores which are in close association with each other. This is known as microspore tetrad. Okay. Again, when the anther matures, every microspore tetrad, they go separate from each other. Okay, and they develop into individual microspores. Okay. These microspores will in turn develop into pollen grains, how we will study now. Okay, before that let me erase this diagram, or I'll erase this process called as microsporogenesis. Okay, now ultimately, at the end of microsporogenesis, we have got microspores. I am taking only one microspore from here. What happens is, when the anther keeps maturing, the microspore which has formed as a result of microsporogenesis, they develop 2 layers surrounding to it. Okay, they develop 2 layers surrounding to its cell. Okay. So imagine this is a microspore. Okay, they develop two layers surrounding to the structure of microspores when the microspore is developing. Okay. Okay. Every microspore develop two wall layers surrounding to its structure. Okay. Now this inner wall which I have drawn in orange, this inner wall is known as intile, and this wall layer is known as exine. Okay, when the microspore develops, it develops into a pollen grain. Okay, in the process of developing as a pollen grain, it develops two wall layers surrounding to it. Inner layer is known as intine, the outer layer is known as exine. Okay, now this structure could be called as a pollen grain. Okay. However, in the process of becoming a pollen grain, microspore also undergoes a mitotic division. It undergoes a mitotic division. Mitotic division, as you all know, it will end up in formation of two cells from a single cell, and it is not a reductional division. Okay. Since the microspore has undergone a mitotic division, there is formation of two cells here. Okay, now there is a formation of two cells here inside the pollen grains. Okay, the uppermost cell and the lower cell. I will in detail draw the structure of pollen grain, because that is a very important question for 2 marks. However, this TS of anther what I have drawn is a very important question for 5 marks. Okay, so this pollen grain structure I will draw it a little bigger in detail. Okay. Now before that, let us see when the microspore develops into a pollen grain, it develops two layers surrounding to it. The innermost layer is intine and the outermost layer is exine. Okay. Now also the microspore undergoes the mitotic division, dividing the microspore into microspore into two cells. This is a cell and this is again one more cell. This cell, if you can see, it's a kind of bigger cell, whereas this cell is a smaller cell. I will draw the structure of pollen grain in detail since it is very important question for your 2 marks. Here I have drawn the structure of a pollen grain little bigger to you. Okay. Now here, as I have already mentioned, you can see a pollen grain, which is again a matured microspore, will have two layers. The inner layer is known as intine and the outer layer is known as exine. Okay. Now, since the microspore has undergone a mitotic division, we will find two cells here. Okay. One cell is little bigger and the other cell is little smaller. Now, the bigger cell will have a irregular shaped nucleus, whereas the smaller cell has a smaller shaped, smaller nucleus when compared to this nucleus. Now, what do we call these cells? The cell, the larger cell with the irregular shaped nucleus is known as vegetative cell, and this cell, which is little smaller, this is known as generative cell. Okay, here the cell which is little larger is known as vegetative cell. Here this cell is known as generative cell. This vegetative cell has dense cytoplasm. Okay, whereas this generative cell has less cytoplasm when compared to this vegetative cell. Since this vegetative cell has lot of cytoplasm, when we look into the structure of plasma grain, pollen grain, it appears that this spindle shaped generative cell which is present here, it is generally floating in the cytoplasm of the vegetative cell. Okay, the spindle shaped generative cell, it appears to float in the cytoplasm of this vegetative cells because this cytoplasm is very dense. Okay, now this is the structure of pollen grain. Now if you see this intine layer is continuous layer. Okay, there is no gap here. However, if you look into this exine layer, you can make out that there are gaps in between. There is a small pore in between, okay, where there is no exine wall is present. Okay, this part is known as germ pore. Okay, these pores are known as germ pores. Okay, intine wall is very much continuous, there is no pore, whereas this exine wall has intermediate pores in it. Okay, these pores are known as germ pore. Okay, germ pores are very much important in the formation of germ tube. Okay, we will look into the structure when we study about the process known as pollination. Okay, now you should know that germ pores are important in the formation of germ tubes. Okay, now what is the structure? Pollen grains are also known as male gametophytes. Okay, pollen grains are also known as male gametophytes. Okay, male gametophyte. What is the meaning of male gametophyte? A plant part which carries a male gamete is known as male gametophyte. Okay, then why do we call pollen grain as male gametophyte? Because it carries male gametes in it. Okay, since pollen grain carries male gametes, pollen grains are known as male gametophyte. You know the meaning of gametes. Okay, so where does this pollen grain carries male gametes? It is in this generative cell, pollen grains carry the male gametes. Okay, now 60% of the angiosperms, which are flowering plants, they release pollen grains at this form. Okay, at this form means at this two-celled stage. Okay, this is a vegetative cell, this is a generative cell. Generally, pollen grains are released from the anther in 60% of the angiosperm in this two-celled state. However, in the rest 40% angiosperms, the pollen grains are shed. That means they are released out of the anther in three-celled stage. Okay, three-celled stage. Here they are two-celled. Where did the third cell come from? Generally, what happens? This generative cell again undergoes a mitotic division and they develop into two cells. They give rise to two cells. So this stage can be called as a three-celled stage of pollen grains. Okay, 40% of the angiosperms they shed pollen grains, they release pollen grains out of anther at this 3-cell stage, whereas 60% of the angiosperms, they release pollen grains from the anther at only this 2-cell stage. Okay. Now, let's consider a 3-cell stage pollen grain. Here, if you see these two cells, okay, they are actually male gametes. Okay, they are the actual male gametes. Since pollen grains are carrying these male gametes, these pollen grains are known as male gametophyte, part of the plant which carries male gametes. Okay, it is evident from the diagram that its pollen grain is the part of the plant which carries male gametes. So that is the reason they are called as male gametophyte. Okay. Now when we are studying the structure of pollen grain, it is also important to know the special properties of these walls called as exine and intine. Okay, the structure of exine and the structure of intine also is very important from the exam point of view. Okay, now how exines and intine are so important to a pollen grain. And let us see how these exines and intines are so important to a pollen grain. Exine is the outermost layer of the pollen grain made up of a material called as sporopollenin. Okay, exine is the outermost wall layer of a pollen grain which is made up of a material called as sporopollenin. How sporopollenin is of so much importance? Sporopollenin is the most resistant organic material that you will find on earth. Okay, sporopollenin are the most resistant organic material that you will find on the surface of earth. Okay, why they are most resistant organic material? First of all, they are heat resistant. Okay, next is they are resistant to strong acid and also alkali. Okay, the sporopollenin is the most resistant organic material that you will find on earth. Okay, they are heat resistant. They are heat resistant. It cannot be destroyed with the help of heat. Also, this is very much resistant. Sporopollenin is very much resistant to strong acid as well as alkali. Okay, and they cannot be denatured or digested by enzymes. Okay, there are no enzymes which can digest this material called as sporopollenin. These three properties of sporopollenin makes it the most resistant organic material on this earth. Okay, so this is the property of exine. Because of the presence of this sporopollenin, this pollen grain can be preserved as fossil. Okay, it can be preserved as fossils for a very long time. Okay, now let us study what is this intine made up of. Intine is the innermost wall layer of a pollen grain which is made up of material called as cellulose and pectin. Okay, so exine is made up of sporopollenin and intine is made up of cellulose and pectin, which is normal cell wall material of plants. Okay, so this is the structure of pollen grain. Now you know that in the outer wall, that is exine, you will find small pores called as germ pores, okay, which will help in the formation of germ tube in the future. Okay students, now let me recall all the topics we have studied today in a single. So students, now let us recall all the topics that we have studied today. Okay, we started with the structure of anther. I have explained anther is a four-sided structure. In all the four corners of anther, we will find a microsporangium. Inside the microsporangium, we will find sporogenous tissue. Every cell inside the sporogenous tissue is a microspore mother cell, which undergoes meiosis to produce a microspore tetrad. Okay, microspore tetrad, when the anther matures, they develop into individual microspores. Here they develop two wall layers surrounding to it. One is intine, another one is exine, and they develop into a matured pollen grain. Okay, now you know the pollen grains are thousands and thousands of pollen grains will be produced inside each microsporangium. Okay, so inside every microsporangium we will find thousands and thousands of pollen grains. Okay, now when the anther dehisces, okay, when the anther breaks open, these pollen grains are released out of the anther. Okay, and now you know that they are in two-celled stage. Okay, they are carrying a male gamete. Okay, in this stage, the pollen grains are released out of the anther. I have drawn only one pollen grain here, but you should be knowing that from each microsporangium, thousands of pollen grains are released. When these pollen grains, they come in contact with the stigma of the gynoecium, okay, they form pollen tube, and finally it will lead to fertilization, which we can study in the future classes. Okay, so this is the brief about what are the topics that we covered today. Okay, so you know the structure of anther, and you know from the microspore mother cell how microspore tetrads and ultimately microspores are produced, and how from microspore pollen grains are produced. Okay, so in the next class we will be studying about gynoecium. We will study what is the structure of stigma, what is the structure of ovary, ovule, everything. Okay, thank you.